few shots initially, but then more. Eventually the crowd dispersed. I came out of my container with the interpreter's ear and found the whole base covered in rocks the size of grapes and watermelons. Not watermelons, but apples certainly. And then that afternoon, Zia, my interpreter, and I were in the office and we got a call. It was Muhammad Dud Khan, the district chief. He said, "Hey, I've got 30 of the local mullahs here. I think you should come and talk to them." After what had just happened, it seemed counterintuitive to walk outside the gate. But thinking as a political officer, I thought, well, we've got to build relationships with these people. These people are influential. And so I went down and saw the officer commanding. He saw it from a military point of view. He said, "Yep, we can't show we're intimidating, we've got to get out there." And he gave me 4 bricks. Brick is a team of 5 soldiers. And I went out the gate, with them, 20 soldiers around me. Still blood on the dust there. The streets were quiet, completely empty, very eerie, frightening. We arrived at the district compound there to find 30 mullahs sitting around the room, looking very unhappy. And the chief amongst them spoke. He said, "We are the mullahs from the mosques of Chora. You must understand we are very poor people. Our love of God is all we have. We have heard there will be an act of disrespect for our holy book, and when we hear someone intends to do this intentionally, we are ready to do anything to stop it. We would lay down our lives to buy weapons. We would sell property to buy weapons. We would even sell our cattle to buy weapons. We would even sell our wives." Afghans value their women, but not in the way that we would. I said I didn't think that would be necessary, as President Obama had tried to stop it. I explained that this wacko in Florida was someone who'd been given attention by the media, who hadn't really deserved that attention. It's just the way the media works these days. They give voice to radicals and crazies. They didn't seem satisfied with that. And it was a big propaganda win for the Taliban, who always seemed to beat us to the punch. And so it was that we crawled into election day, the 18th of September. I woke early on account of having eaten too much, and at 0900 the guys at the guard tower called for me and Zia. There was an Afghan man at the gate wanting to see us. We went down to meet a tired-looking man in his mid-30s, accompanied by his 2 sons, a robust little boy of about 8 years and his younger brother, who looked to be in a bad way. I went and found the doc, the corporal trained as a medic who ran the regimental aid post. They're always fucking coming around wanting pharmaceuticals," said Doc. "I suppose I'd better see him." The doc was actually a bit of a softie and saved the lives of a number of Afghans during his tour. So Zia and I brought the man to the RAP, then I got on with my day. By 13:30 it was hot, I was tired, and so I went for a nap in the tent. Corporal Torres had had the same idea, and as I was drifting off to sleep I heard the angry scream and whistle of an incoming rockets. Now Afghans take great pride in not ducking and weaving when they hear a rocket coming in. They figure there's a divine providence in the fall of the sparrow. If you don't die now, you'll die another time. Better to live with dignity. I had no such hands. I threw myself out of bed, flat on the floor, face down, and as the rocket flew overhead, Torres had done the same thing, and there was a moment of comedy as he and I exchanged foolish grins lying there side by side in our underpants. Rockets are very funny when they miss. Later that afternoon I went down to the command post to see what was going on. They said that apart from the rockets, everything was quiet. There'd been such a concentration of security forces around the polling stations that the insurgents weren't going to take us on. And the voter turnout was reasonable. I was walking up towards the shitters near the RAP later on when I ran to the doc. "Hey, how's that little kid who came in this morning?" I asked. "They always fucking bring him in too late," said Doc. Diarrhea and vomiting, I did what I could. He shook his head and walked away. I turned to see the man and his older son walking towards me down the slope from the aid post. The man was pushing a wheelbarrow, the contents covered with a Hessian sack, the younger boy's hat on top. I put my hand on my heart and bowed my head in an Afghan gesture of respect. He nodded faintly enough to acknowledge me and kept going down the hill to the gate, head up, eyes forward. The older man walking by his side, one hand on the handle of the barrow. I watched as the guard opened the gate for him, bowing his head to the man as he made his way out and home to bury the child. And I thought to myself, they just get on. That's life, Afghanistan.
The valley, now they're more relaxed and do not have worries about the security. When I came in at the end of 2001 to Uruzgan province, there were only 2 health facilities. One was in Terankut, which was a very small facility with minimal resources, and another was in Derawat. There were limited services in Uruzgan, and not everyone could reach them. Now, there are 29 health facilities across the province that have good quality, reasonable amount of resources, and 385 health posts. Since Australians came to our land, our province, Afghanistan, in Khas Uruzgan, it is like we were sitting before in the darkness. Now we're sitting to the light. More construction work has happened in our province, our roads, ditches, and even our agriculture produce has improved in its output. People have seen the differences which have come about as a result of the efforts by our friends and our coalition partners, Australians. They have lost many sons here, and we are very sad for that, because they are our guests, and they were not supposed to die. Now the Afghan National Security Forces have replaced the Australian in the patrol bases. People in the villages feel very happy about this. They understand that the international forces cannot stay here in Afghanistan forever. I appreciate the work of international forces in Afghanistan, who help the people emerge from disaster to prosperity. Particularly here in Uruzgan, where I appreciate the efforts of coalition here, is a consequence of which we now have a better environment. The blood that has been sacrificed by coalition forces here for the poor people of this province won't be forgotten.
So we made a bit of a difference in a tough place. And that's the Uruzgan story from my point of view. More of it is in my book over there, The Dust of Uruzgan. So I thought I'd just finish with some concluding remarks about the topic which I set myself to talk about today. The question of peace and understanding in conflict zones. And I suppose I'd first like to talk about the understanding of understanding. And I think understanding has its roots in humility, particularly in a foreign environment you don't understand. You have to understand that you don't understand. And from there, knowledge can grow, and you'll find the people there will offer you that knowledge if you approach them with due respect. The second thing is the obvious point that history is important. People are as they are for a reason. And you can learn a lot about people from their history and, of course, their language. The third is the point I was talking about in my Bougainville colleagues earlier on, the importance of art and culture, storytelling, dance, music, and so on, as a way of understanding cultures. Firstly, because it's entertaining. We love doing it, and it's an exchange. It's a give and take on a heart level. It connects beyond the rational. Secondly, because you can never really understand what it's like to be someone else. But empathy is possible. But empathy is an act of the imagination. Art triggers the imagination and is the key to empathy. And the third thing about art, of course, is it requires careful observation. Looking, observing, listening. And so the fundamental skill of a musician is the same fundamental skill of a diplomat, and that is listening. So perhaps it's not such a crazy combination for me after all. So what? Well, I think what we know about all this, in terms of the way we work in conflict zones, is that understanding is key. Set out to comprehend, because if you don't, you'll get it wrong. The second point is that if you go looking for an enemy, you'll probably find one. And the third point is it's important to provide the means for people to solve their own problems. Justice systems, political systems need to be supported. Final conclusions for us? Well, firstly, we need to continue to invest in these things, the things that mitigate competition and manage sanity in our own societies, justice, and clean politics. We need to appreciate what we've got, and we've got a lot. And here at International House, you've got a unique opportunity to grow as individuals by understanding yourselves and by understanding others. And finally, we need to understand that in these modern times, wackos get a lot of oxygen in the media, more than they deserve. A lot of those wackos seek political mileage by pointing to the enemy and blaming that enemy. It's an oldest trick in the book, and it works up to a certain point, gets certain people into the Senate or elected as presidential candidates for the Republican Party. That's how it worked in 2016. That's how it worked back in 1996 when I wrote this song. It's a song called Open Country. Well, I came in today, flying over Sydney Harbour, as she sparkled like a diamond on a Sydney summer's day. Red hot roof tiles, but it's freezing back in China as the plane wheels hit the runway. It's so long I've been away. Well, I got into a cab, was talking to the taxi driver. He described a land divided, fingers pointing left and right. On the radio, an old man selling anger on the airwaves. He was blaming everyone who wasn't middle class and white. Well, the taxi driver swore. He said, mate, we're all new Australians, whether your name be Philip Pousis, Smith or Clark or bloody Wong. But I said, yeah, you're right. This is not the 1960s. There's far more to being Australian than your esky and your thongs. And he said, you're not wrong. Hear my song. I'm Australian, and there's plenty of space in me. Well, he dropped me down on Pitt Street, where the corporate toys are praying, not for profits from the Bible. They prefer there's cash in hand. I took the Bondi bus up Oxford and saw the pretty boys out walking. I saw skin of every colour gracing Bondi's burning sands. And meanwhile through the countryside the bushfires were blazing. I saw people fight together, everybody lends a hand. And out in the great dry west I hear the old stockmen are talking about the good times and the hard times that had fallen on the land. And I say, understand, it's our land. I'm Australian, and there's plenty of space in me. So Pauline, love, do you think you know the answers? Do you even know the question? Are we watching the same game? Or what your politics of fear is your politics of anger? But you're not the only one to use the politics of blame. And I'm hearing arguments and fighting over reconciliation when we know a land divided is the worst we've got to fear. And there's gonna be more blues, cause there's so many different viewpoints. Even when the matter's settled, then let's sit down for a beer. And I say, have no fear, there'll be tears. I'm Australian, and there's plenty of space in me. Well, the time is now, cause the winds of change are blowing. We must bend and never break, like a supple sapling gum. And if you're telling me that we can't change, if you're saying we're old and rigid, I suggest you learn some yoga so you learn to bite your bum. So stand up now and let us look to the horizon. There's still so much space to grow in, and we can learn how to succeed. But first things first, we're gonna find a little space inside us just to understand a complex land, and in it plant the seeds. And I say, young and free, Australia, I'm young and free, and there's plenty of space in me. flying over the Sydney harbour as she sparkled like a diamond on a Sydney summer's day.
Incredible, and I think here at International House to have you come and talk about understanding, which is so much of what we're about, it was really poignant, and I sense that you've approached your travels in the world with just a genuine curiosity and without any judgment, and willing to really understand, but to learn and to experience the world as it is for other people. And I think that's just such a critical thing for peace in the world. Your music is amazing. Quintessentially Australian, I have to say. And there's something, I was listening to the words and thinking, the words are so understated and yet convey so much emotion. And there's quite an act all power to you. I don't know how you rock. Can I say you rock? I'm not ready for you to finish. Is there one more song you need? What do you reckon? One more song?
Look, I'll be playing some Red Bull Community Sports Centre, formerly known as the Ithaca Bowling Club tomorrow. Do come along. It's a book launch from my book, The Dust of Earth. I suppose I began tonight with some slides talking about judgment, as you said. Yeah, I think it's important not to judge so that we may understand. There is one exception to this rule, of course, and that's the Dutch. We generally speaking got on pretty well with the Dutch soldiers there in Erskine province, but a couple of their behaviours and cultural practices were completely unacceptable. One of them was their fierce proclivity for wearing lycra. You couldn't stop it. The second was a Dutch cultural practice known as swaffelen. I don't know if you've heard of swaffelen here at International House. I'd never heard of it before I went over there, but I arrived there and one of the Aussie diggers came up to me and said, "You've got to do something about those Dutchies that keep swaffling in the Dixies." I said, "No worries, I'll get onto it." I didn't know what it meant. So I asked one of my Dutch counterparts, a diplomat, well, it's what diplomats do, we explain things to each other. I asked one of my counterparts, Alex Oosterwijk, "What's this swaffling business?" He said, "Oh, it's Dutch cultural practice." I said, yes, but what does it mean? He said, "Oh, it just means to swing your penis backwards and forwards and bump it up against something." Something we should do in residential colleges. I said, "Is this common practice in Holland?" He said, "Oh yes, more so amongst the men than the women." And how did this become so popular? He said, "Well, it became very popular through YouTube. You see, Dutch tourists film one another swaffling in the Taj Mahal. Footage of this went to YouTube, went viral and started a whole craze of Dutch tourists travelling around the world swaffling national monuments like the Sphinx and the Eiffel Tower." This got me very, very worried. Because we were spending a lot of money on counter-terrorism in Australia, but what we're doing to counter the swaffling threat. So I sent a cable back to Canberra recommending a series of countermeasures, including biometric testing at the border for Dutch tourists and passing electric current through Sydney Harbour Bridge. The cable was not well received. But we had a more immediate problem in the base there in Tarankout, insofar as the Dutch soldiers were swaffling in the Dixies. Now the Dixies were the blue plastic portaloos that proliferated around the base. And of course these were the dunnies, and as such they were sacred space for Australian soldiers. This is where your Aussie soldier writes his poetry. The future of Australian war poetry was at stake. I had to do something about it, and I wrote the following song called Neat Swaffelen op the Dixie. As you'd be aware, it's Dutch for no swaffling in the portaloos. Don't swing your dick in the portaloos, so sing along. I've heard that when the they messed up people's lives with lots of silly rules. Women were illegal and so was flying kites. God defend the kind of men who like to dress in tights. I wouldn't want to be like the Taliban and tell you what to do. I'm fighting here for freedom after all, just like you. I respect your lowlands culture, I love you very much. But there is one important thing I say to all you Dutch. Nick, swapping up the Dixie, it's against the law. Sing along now, Nick, swapping up the Dixie, we're trying to fight a war. And if you're swaffling in that Dixie like a Dixie swaffling man, how the hell are we supposed to defeat the Taliban? So Nick, swaffling up the Dixie, Nick, 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 swaffling up the Dixie, there isn't enough room. If I hear that you've been swaffling in that Dixie, I'll tell Brigadier Van Oom, and he'll have you court-martialed and sent back to The Hague, where they'll put your dick on a table and whack it with a spade. So Nick, swaffling up the Dixie, Nick, 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 swaffling up the Dixie. Did you hear me, or are you deaf? If I find that you've been swaffling in that Dixie, I will call in the SF, it's the Special Forces, Task Force 55, and the boys from 66 go swaffling at night with black paint on their dicks, and they will find you swaffling in that Dixie, my friend. They'll hard knock on the Dixie door, in which case I would recommend that you immediately bend over, place your chest upon your thighs, stick your head between your knees, and kiss your ass goodbye. So, swaffling up the Dixie, Nick, Nick, Nick. Nick swapping up the Dixie. It really is quite gross. Once a week they clean those Dixies with a great big vacuum hose. And if you're swaffling in that Dixie on a lazy Saturday, you may find yourself fellatioed in the most unpleasant way. It will grab you, it will suck until there is nothing left. What's the BDA, that's the Battle Damage Assessment, going to say about your cause of death that you died? Swaffling in the Dixie. Nick, 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 sing along now. Nick, 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 all together now. Nick, 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 swaffling on the Dixie. Nick, Nick, Nick. Anyway, this song, Nick Swaffling Up the Dixie, is proved very popular with school children in Canada. I'd like to get a copy for your kids. It's on my CD. On sale over there for $25, and all my songs about war and death are, and the kiddies love it. If you're looking for something more wholesome for your old dad, then there's my book, The Dusterburgers Gang, on sale for $33. Megan over there. From what bookshop? That shop. UQ. Oh, okay, right. But you can tell you what, we got a special deal tonight. Megan will sell you my CD and book, Make Your Dad Really Happy, for $50. Anyway, the Dutch. Thanks again for having me tonight. I'll finish with an explanation of what happened to the Dutch. They withdrew from Roosgan province in the summer of 2010. Some people think that it happened as a result of the collapse of the political coalition in The Hague, but in fact it was my prohibition on Dixie swaffling. It broke the will of the Dutch military, you know. They pulled out of Roosgan that summer. It was a tough summer, you know, 1,000 Dutchmen getting extracted by another 1,000 Dutchmen. The Americans poured in, thousands of them, and then the base was full and the lines of the Dixies were chocker, and then the Dutch got into the World Cup soccer final in 2010 in Spain, but they lost and they were downhearted about that, so I put on a concert to cheer them up, and I finished with this verse, thanking them for their contribution to Roosgan province. I've heard you're leaving. I know you've made this plan because swaffling's become illegal here in Roosgan. When you're back in Holland, you can swaffle what you like. You can swaffle in a windmill. You can swaffle in a dike. You can swaffle in a hash pipe. In Leiden or Geleen, but you can't swaffle the World Cup because the fucking thing's in Spain. So swaffling up the Dixie. Nick, Nick, Nick.
Once more, thank you so much, Fred. It was amazing. And it's a token of our appreciation. Please join me in thanking them.
think you're probably going to get tired of us all saying thank you, but we've really enjoyed our evening with you, Fred, and I hope that you can all stay and have some dessert and coffee with us, and please, I'm sure you can seek Fred out and buy
There are some books for
and he'll be
sale.
signing books and he'll be answering questions, so please stay.